Hey team, Scott here from Rogue Home Cinema. Our first time going live through the little webcam in the office here. Hopefully this is going to work out all right. I've done a few lives on Facebook, but while we're in the office, we get a lot of questions and inquiries, obviously all the time, regarding new builds, new upgrades from enthusiasts and people building new cinemas all the time. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool to go live and actually answer some questions through video? Saves me typing, not too flash at typing, so I can answer some questions and share what sort of conversations and what sort of solutions there are all at the same time. So question here actually first started from a fellow talking about how much for a seating riser, that is to build a platform or a stage for the seating row to actually sit on top of that. And the first thing I came back with was, how many rows of seats do you have? How many rows of seats do you have? Do you actually need a seating riser? Because to rise the seats up, we could actually be causing audio problems by sitting on a drum. The bass drums the riser, and that energy goes into the seats in the way of really quite huge distortion. So the first question is, do you really need one? If you do have multiple rows, of course you need staggered seating so everyone has line of sight to the screen. Well, won't resonate, but actually can aid sound by controlling, absorbing bass frequencies. And ideally we'll measure the room first, or at least analyze the room. A rectangular room is quite predictable, so it's great shape and sort of general layout of a room is rectangular. And we can actually have this riser act as an acoustic aid or tool in the overall design of the system. So good and bad news there. Obviously, to do it properly is going to cost more. And if you simply don't need a riser, then 3,000 or so bucks worth of platform could certainly be spent elsewhere in the room. So that was the first step. A few more questions came back, so I'm going to go through them. So the possible room dimension at 4 by 5 meters. Sorry guys in the US, you're gonna have to work that out. But I reckon I'm gonna get the foot conversion cracking as we fly really soon. So don't worry about that. So 4 by 5 meter, I'm gonna guess about 2.4 to 2.7 meters of height. Height's important to know as well. We don't want a multiple, so the length and the width to be a multiple of each other. So say 4 meters by 8 meters. Obviously 50% of the width or length is the width, and that multiple is going to cause some bass frequencies doubling up and causing issues. So 4 by 5 meter by say 2.3, 2.7 meters is typically pretty good, and it's usually the sort of size of room we can get away with in the overall architectural design of the home. Now that's going to work great, best for one row of seats, would work awesome. We have squeezed 2 rows into a 4 by 5 meter room. Existing rooms where we needed the extra rows, we just got to do what we got to do. But 1 row of 4 would work famously well in a 4 by 5 meter. So that's cool size, loving that. Air cooling, it says here reverse system vent. I'm not quite sure what that means, but ultimately a split system's best in a cinema room. You can seal all the doors and windows up, and the split system will recycle the air for you, whereas a ducted, say EVAP or ducted aircon system, the air blows in, but there's no reverse or vents out. I'm guessing the name of this system, reverse system vent, may mean that it's ducted in, and there's a vent allowing the air back out again, which is good because then you won't just pump the room full of air or need the door ajar, which causes sound issues or sound isolation issues. So, but yeah, look, cinema rooms run really warm, particularly with the equipment in room and projectors in room, which most installs are. Add a few people and a still space, and they get pretty muggy pretty quick. So a cinema room is usually the first room that will rely on some cooling. So if it's connected to the rest of the house, maybe not very efficient. Cool. So windows, most councils are going to rely on a window in the room. It says here 1 small window, as I have to compromise about resale values, but also council values as well. You can call it a firearm storage space. You will get away without having a window that way, or a store room. There's a few ways to work around council. If it's more for resale, for being able to use the room as a light bright lounge room, then of course it's another consideration as well. So the thing of the window though, obviously if you're building, which I think this fella is, you can decide where the window is going to go. So if you have an ideal acoustic and speaker framework, or really some design engineering for the audio visual, then you're going to know which areas the window can go, and also what options you have with that window as far as maybe adding sound control or isolation over that window later on. So sometimes we put windows in a position where we know we're going to just sort of hang some sound control over them anyway, but in a nice layout and a pattern in the room, which will look cool. Windows can be annoying if they're half between reflection points, maybe where a speaker wants to go, maybe where a sub wants to go, maybe where the seats are. So you want to really work on that main framework before finally deciding where the window goes. But there's a few ways of working around it. Now, soundproofing ideas. So thick blackout curtains covering all sides of the room, foam wall padding to place behind the curtain and to black out the window. So soundproofing is kind of like sound isolation. So that's stopping sound getting into the room and stopping sound getting out of the room. Really the materials that we've talked about here in this concept are really more acoustic control in the room. So it's going to affect the way the sound sounds in the space. It's not going to do a super great big deal of blocking particularly bass energy from going into other spaces. So that's actually not quite the right concept. The issue here as well, if we put a lot of one material in this case a curtain, and usually we want a nice soft lush double pleated curtain, so we've got a bit of thickness. If we hang that off the wall a little bit of distance, then we're actually going to gain a broader range of sound, which is good. But if we just put that same curtain all the way around the room, then that curtain is going to have a natural response. There's going to be certain frequencies that material is going to absorb, and other sound will pass straight through it. So you end up with the sound curve with a notch. So all the sound in the room now has this notch of frequency sucked out of it. We're actually changing the spectrum of the original sound. The room has a massive influence, and that can be quite detrimental. In fact, I wouldn't do that. Curtains sometimes are required to, create a nice balanced look and cover windows, cover doors. I get that. So the choice of curtain, how much of it, is another thing. So yeah, we could be really mucking up the sound by just sticking to a few basic materials and a lot of it. I'd be mixing that up somewhat. And yeah, not doing a lot for soundproofing. End of the day, if there's air gaps between the doors, then the sound energy is going to pour through that if there's a curtain in front of it or not. So sound isolation is a whole other kettle of fish, and you really got to cover every single aspect of it: the ceiling, the roof, the windows, the doors, the cracks in between the the wall plates. All of that needs to be covered, or the sound will still leak through. My concept of sound isolation in my theatre room, our little demo theatre room we've built, is stiff shit. If I'm cranking it up, then that's what other people in the house are going to hear. Or someone's sick in bed, then you don't crank it up. You miss out on that night. That ultimately we're open plans. We're limited with sound control. If it was a dedicated room, probably $10,000 to nail that room properly, thereabouts. So if sound isolation is really important, that's the sort of numbers we're looking at. And yeah, very different from curtains and foam. It's really double layers of construction materials. So that's a whole other thing to talk about later. Speakers. So the chap here is talking about my partner. I love the sound of Klipsch sound. So maybe a Klipsch center with some Klipsch towers, matching rears, couple of subs. I know it's between a 15 sub or two 10-inch. Cool. All right. So first of all, Klipsch, great because they play loud. You want dynamic range. If it doesn't sound loud and clear, then it's not very exciting. So they are brilliant for that. Thing though with tower speakers is they work really great when tower speakers are out from the wall and acoustically positioned, so you can actually take advantage of the full deep bass that a Tower speaker offers. Now, in home theater system, you've got bass management, front channels that are going to be cut off at 80 hertz, which is where the subs run. And yet, we pay for big Tower speakers. You can pay double the price from a bookshelf to a Tower. And I'd say 70% of that extra price is going into low bass, and you already got subs for that job. So you pay more, cross over the bass out of them, and send them to a sub. I just feel like you're paying for something you're not really using with most Tower speakers. And then the fact that they're in room, they're ported, they're often rear ported. There's a lot of sound energy in and around these Tower speakers, which are actually quite difficult to control. So we've actually kind of got a lot of problems with that. In a 4x5 meter room, you want to be 800 mil off the back wall. They're about 700. So it's like 3 feet, 3 feet. So we've got space for the surround speakers to envelop us, which means we're now about less than 4 meters from the front wall. The towers are going to mount a foot or 2 or 3 from the front wall. They're now getting pretty close to the seats, which means the 2 middle seats are good. The outside seats are well outside of any stereo effect whatsoever. Just real struggle. There's technically a lot of issues with towers in smaller rooms, and I think a bit of a waste of value. And ideally, when it comes to your LCRs, left, center, right speakers, those speakers work really closely together. So the sound, look, the center's got 90% of the dialogue, but occasionally the screen will move and the dialogue will move from the center channel over to a main channel. And we want that to be exactly the same tonal sound. Big Tower speakers and long skinny center channels are a different speaker. They might have the same finish on them, the same copper looking drivers and the same tweeter, but acoustically they're a different sounding product. Some manufacturers do a good job of getting that really close. Most hi-fi brands I find kind of don't. And so yeah, but if you have the same speaker, literally from left, center, right, then we've got that perfect tonal matching. And that is critical. The studios, commercial cinemas, absolutely. The front 3 channels are exactly the same as each other. Easiest way creating a perfect blend that your head isn't thinking something's not quite right. We want to trick this thing into thinking what we're hearing is for real. And every time it's a little bit different, a little bit weird, then that whole illusion falls apart. It's the easiest way to hold that, keep the speakers the same. So that might be more of a LCR speaker, maybe twin woofers and a tweeter in a more bookshelf size. Really easy to get a matching set. MK are famous for this. All the MK front channels are the same. They're a studio bred product. And one of our favorite, Triad, which do the same thing, but they come in different size boxes. So we have slim speakers, Tower speakers, which are really the bookshelf on a stand. The bookshelf, flat, different depths, in wall, on wall, all these different applications to actually fit into the room and into the installation. So they're super clever. So yeah, that's sort of my thing on LCRs. Left, center, right speakers, all the same is king. And you get some really efficient, people think the smaller speakers not efficient. The MKs and the Triads, they're the ones that come off the top of my head the most. They're 90, 91 dB efficiency, some of them even more. So that's going to hit a THX Select rating in a 4x5 meter room, no problems at all. In fact, you might be touching an ultra spec when you're only 3 and a bit meters away. So sound pressure level is still really important. So you can get good levels out of, matching LCR speakers, 100%. Even better, you build these speakers into the room or build a baffle, and the speaker will increase probably a good 3 dB gain because now the wall and the front wall or the baffle is actually pushing all that sound energy forward. Unlike the Tower speaker sitting out in the room, or the sound energy, wraps around and ends up building up in the corner and mudding up the bass and causing all sorts of problems. That sound energy comes back delayed versus a speaker flush in a wall. All the energy is pushed forward at the same time. You've got time alignment, you've got lack of speaker boundary or comb filtering bass problems, and you're gaining output. It's awesome. So you're getting free horsepower, so to speak. I could go on with that. I'll keep moving along. Rear speakers, yeah, look, you want to match that up to your fronts for sure. So if it's clipped all the way, then it's clipped at the rear. That should tonally match in rather well. Not so necessary to go the same speaker at the rear, as the sound is a little bit more isolated, but timbre matching is really important. So making sure each speaker has the same tonal characteristics. Still really important for the surrounds, the backs, the Atmos channels. Subwoofers, one 15-inch sub or two 10-inch, depending on budget. I mean, hey, that's the other component that we always consider every time we look at every part of a cinema room, is how much is it going to cost to do that effectively? Where else could we put that money? You know, it really is, that's sort of the real art of building a cinema room, is making sure that each dollar invested goes one way. So one single 15 versus two 10s, so twin subs work really great. One sub, sometimes you can jag it, getting it in a right spot, and it sounds good for a couple of seats. Two subs are going to make certainly two seats sound kind of perfect, and even four or more rows, much better balance. The problem with two subs is, you know, paying for two subs versus one. So the biggest thing you got to do with subwoofers is do not buy wimpy subwoofers. We need good output. So I'd prefer to see even something in the middle, high powered, high quality 12-inch and two of them, or start with one, grab a matching sub later on. Two really good quality subs in a 4x5 meter room, and you can have audio like bass Nirvana with that. I mean, I run two 12s, Triad Silvers, 700 watt amps behind them. Man, that bass is awesome. So not many people exactly, everyone I've shown it to are blown away, and these are people with some, you know, pretty hardcore products, and they're absolutely blown away by the room. And that's because of the installation, the application, where we've put the subs makes really big difference. You just stick them on the front room, you're going to get this big bass wave energy, which is going to hit the back wall, cancel some frequencies out, muddle up other frequencies. So two subs positioned strategically, and you've got gold, 100%. You get the bass you always dreamed for. But you can't, there's no point buying two wimpy subs. You know, you need good quality subs. That bit needs a bit of investment. Let's see, next one, image. So projector, Epson TW5600 and 120-inch screen. So yeah, look, little Epson projectors are probably, you know, the way to go when budget's really pretty tight, and you know, we've only got like $3,000 to spend on a projector, Aussie dollars. How that converts to America, say $2,000. Though, you know, in a 4x5 meter room, you could get like something like a JVC. I love my JVCs. These things are dynamic as, colors rich, beautiful, build quality is on a whole different level to your little Epsons. You know, JVC build products for simulation use and training, commercial, military. Their products are built tough, and the picture quality is phenomenal. So, you know, a couple of grand more than the Epson, thereabouts, you're going to get into a JVC. And with that product, it has a brilliant lens shift capability where you could go CinemaScope screen. And, you know, these folks already mentioned they love movies, and most movies are made in CinemaScope, the anamorphic widescreen, or, you know, 2.35 or 2.4 to 1. Now, with that 5 meter room, it's going to give us about a 4.5 meter throw distance lens to screen. You're starting to get about a 3 to 3.2 meter wide image by about, say, 1,400 millimeters in height. That'd be awesome. From a seating distance of around 4 meters, man, you're cooking. That's just, you're going to feel like you're in the movies, 100%. And CinemaScope really brought that whole feeling into the home. Before that, when I was demoing cinemas, when I had like a shop, people would go, yeah, cool, it's a big screen. As soon as we went CinemaScope, as soon as we went like 3 meters wide, 3.3 meters wide from about a 4 meter viewing distance, people were going, oh, wow, it's just like being in the movies. And it's like, yeah, that's what we've been trying to do. And we cracked it with CinemaScope. It really changed people's whole feeling. So, yeah, look, I mean, going for a little bit more into the JVC, you're going to get a much better picture straight up. It is worth the extra. And then you can get a brilliant lens shift, zoom technology, where that one product will zoom in for your TV 16:9. hit a button, it will zoom out super wide and big for your movies. You don't have to buy extra lenses and things like that. It's all in the package. And JVC, they've been doing the lens shift for ages. They've been like 5 years or more. And the technology works really well. Japanese engineering working well here. Since only the last few years, we've seen Epson, even Sony, do a lens shift concept in their projectors, and they kind of stuffed it up. They don't always go back to the same spot. With the Sony one, it does work, but you got to program it a certain way to sort of get that to stick. So we've been, didn't know how good we had it, I guess, with lens shift. I mean, I love CinemaScopes. As soon as JVC started doing that, I just switched straight over to them. I was already running them anyway because their contrast is just friggin' awesome. But we're doing a lot less anamorphic lenses because they're expensive, man. They're like $5,000 for a good lens. So so with the video side, a 3.3 meter wide scope screen is equivalent to about 145 inches on the diagonal. You're getting 110 inch 16:9 picture. And then for scope, you're still getting the full 140 plus inches of viewing area. A 120 inch 16:9 screen, you're going to end up only seeing maybe, say 100 inches of scope picture, because the scope picture has to work inside the 16:9. So your movies are actually smaller than your sport and your TV. It's kind of the wrong way around. Look, that's my feedback on this one. Hopefully that has been a lot of help to Braden in particular. Hey mate, thanks for sending in the questions, and hope to the other guys out there that are throwing a few ideas around with cinema. Now, Rogue do have a number of different design services. We do 3D engineering on rooms, and we can even do some simple cinema plans to help people out. There's some guides on, what it takes to get that done. And we are able to help people abroad. So we're in Perth, WA, beautiful spot of the world. We can help people. We've been helping people on the East Coast for about 5-6 years, and certainly abroad from there. So we'll have more information on the new website coming out really soon on offers to help you guys really get this stuff planted the first time right, rather than spending weekend after weekend going around in circles listening to all the bullshit on the market and whatever the manufacturers say. So really, I'd be putting the cinema plan first, then find your products that suit that. But there's some few cool ideas I think I've shared there today, which should get people on the right track. So guys, my first YouTube live on building someone's first home cinema room. A few hot questions that they had. So hope that's been a help, and we'll catch you guys later. See ya.